everyone. Happy Friday. Welcome to or welcome back to my channel, depending on if you are a first-time viewer. Today's topic is going to be a little bit more serious and self-reflective. So I want to say within the past few weeks, God has really been dealing with me as far as relationships, friendships to be very specific. And I feel like when we talk about letting go of toxic relationships or breakups, a lot of the times pop culture focuses more on romantic relationships, and not too many people really talk about the heartache and the pain that comes with the breakup of friendships. So today I wanted to talk about more so the side effects that I've noticed happen with me whenever I have a friendship that I know I should let go of, but perhaps I hold on to it for a little bit longer than I should because I have hope that it can be mended. I have hope that I can grow, the other individual can grow, and it's still salvageable. But in the end, no good comes from holding on to any relationship, in this specific instance, friendships that God is trying to tear apart and trying to deliver us from. So this isn't necessarily going to be in any order of importance, just more so as they come to me. I would say through the years, and this definitely started for me in middle school, so ages 12 and 13, I really wanted to have that solid core group of girlfriends. I really value sisterhood. I am the youngest of three. I have a sister who's 12 years older than me, and I have a brother who's 3 years older than me. And so I remember growing up watching sitcoms like Family Matters, Full House, Step by Step, where you got to see that dynamic between the younger and the older sisters. And because my sister was so much older than me, I didn't have that. I didn't get a chance to grow up with her. She was pretty much already grown by the time I came along. Well, 12 years old isn't grown, but you know what I mean. It's different. So I used to try to look for sisterhood in my peers, and I was disappointed a lot of the times. I could not understand that some people are very authentic. They practice integrity, so they're the same on Monday, and at the end of the week on Friday, they are the same. What was happening for me, what I was recognizing as young as 11, 12, 13 years old, was that a lot of the young women that I wanted to befriend, they would be friends with me at the beginning of the week, and then by the end of the week, we're pretty much fighting. Well, in my mind, I'm more so confused, like, oh, so we're beefing now? Okay, why? You know, just over petty stuff. So through the years, I've noticed that when I've held on to friendships that I should have let go of, sooner than I did, there would be a lot of skepticism as far as the next friendship that I would have coming into my life. An example of that would be, I met one of my best friends in high school, and when I initially saw her and met her for the very first time, I remember being skeptical, thinking, I do want to be friends with her, but I'm nervous that this might not work out, because in the past, friendships with other girls did not work out. They were solid for a little while, and then they would fizzle out. And it wouldn't necessarily be anything super tragic. It wouldn't be anything crazy like any brawls or crazy verbal disrespect or anything like that. It's just, I guess when we are young and we are growing and we are immature, we don't necessarily know how to invest that time, that energy, and that effort into maintaining a friendship the way that we learn how to do it as we grow older, and then we watch the examples of, say, our parents, other positive influences and role models in our lives who are able to model, this is how you build a friendship, this is how you maintain one. Most 11, 12, 13-year-olds aren't thinking about that. So I've definitely noticed that when I finally break free from a friendship that I should have broken free from much sooner than I actually did, skepticism being cynical and being very doubtful of my ability to maintain friendships in the future that would come up for me, and it would make it hard for me to try to bond to people. Let's see. Another thing that I've noticed is developing this reluctance to speak my mind, this reluctance to be very open and honest about my feelings, a reluctance to be vulnerable because I don't want to offend the other person. And also, most importantly, I don't want that other person to offend me. If I'm trying to take the leap of being vulnerable, saying things like, hey, you know, I really miss our friendship. I would love to speak with you on a more frequent basis. I know life happens, we get busy, but I want to be intentional about catching up with you and investing in our friendship because friendship is very important to me. And in the past, I have had experiences where I've gone that far and been vulnerable, and that was a huge step for me, only to be met with either silence or more so the empty promises of, yes, let's do that, and then the actions don't line up with the words. There's still sporadic contact. And I'll just explain for me, this is just for me personally. I know I've seen on social media that people will repost quotes that say, I'm not a consistent friend. I don't have time to be talking to you every day, whether it be phone call, text, or what have you. But when you call me in a crisis or when you really need me, I'll be there. And I'm thinking, but if you're not a consistent friend and we're not consistently speaking to each other, how can I trust that you will be there for me? So I'm more reluctant to reach out now because in the day-to-day, if I'm just trying to reach out to you just to see how you're doing and I don't get a response at all, I'm going to be reluctant to reach out to you if I really need someone to be there for me in a crisis. If I need someone to pray with me, if I need someone to give me sound advice, if I need someone to listen, if I want to go and like have a coffee date, whatever it may be, I'm reluctant to reach out to you. I'm reluctant to be vulnerable. I'm reluctant to take that chance. So I've noticed that. Let's see, what else? I guess this one ties into reluctance to be vulnerable, but that tense, anxious feeling of, I don't know how this is going to affect this person, and I'm afraid of the backlash, so I'm just going to be silent, or I'm going to walk on eggshells in hopes that I don't say something that triggers them. And now we're engaged in an argument that I don't feel was necessary because I wasn't trying to offend. And then I find myself apologizing for expressing maybe my thoughts or my feelings or my concerns and trying to do so in a way that's very respectful, of course, and yet feeling like, the message wasn't received well because of whatever reason. So I've noticed that as well. Walking on eggshells, not speaking up for myself, not standing up for myself, not setting boundaries, not shutting certain conversations down because I don't want to deal with the backlash. So just walking on eggshells to cater to this other person's feelings while I'm slowly losing pieces of myself. And that would go on to the next point. With a reluctance to be vulnerable and the tense, anxious feeling of walking on eggshells in a relationship, friendship that I should let go of, I would say I would lose pieces of myself. And so therefore, it's hard for me to be authentic if I know deep down inside I really should be saying something. I really should be setting a boundary. I really should be, confronting behaviors that are concerning to me with this other person that I'm calling a friend. And if I'm not doing that, how can I be true to myself? And then also, how can I be considered true to this friend if I don't feel like they will hear me? So I just don't say anything at all. Or I try to change how I talk. I would notice that more like when I was younger, trying to, change my style, wanting to be popular, but to a certain extent. I was never with, the crowds who enjoyed bullying other kids. I never thought that that was okay. So I was always kind of like somewhere in the middle. Like I wasn't the outcast, but I wasn't on the other opposite end of the spectrum of being a bully. I got really good grades, so I didn't have issues with my teachers, and I tried to be a peacemaker. I'm sure there were times that didn't quite work out. We're all a work in progress. And I used to speak my mind a lot in middle school. So I'm sure that triggered some people as well. And I probably made some enemies. And thank God I've learned the value of just because it comes up doesn't mean it has to come out. Every opinion, every thought, every feeling that comes up for me doesn't necessarily have to be verbalized. I have to know my audience, and I have to know when is a good time to say something, because I can have the right message, but with the wrong delivery and the wrong timing, it will not be received well. So yeah, I definitely have noticed that. Challenges with being authentic, being my authentic self, when I am holding on to friendships that God is trying to pull me out of. Another side effect would be noticing like negative interactions in my other relationships, whether it be I'm struggling to trust other people because of what is happening in this negative friendship, or if I'm trying to defend this person because I just don't want to believe that the negative behavior that they are displaying is really who they are. More so, I'm trying to always look at the bigger picture in the context of, well, this person is hurting, or, this person is going through a really difficult time. This person has experienced a lot of tragedies, a lot of loss. So all of those things could be coloring, the way that they're interacting with me, the way that they're interacting and impacting others. And as a result, me trying to defend someone who was ultimately like offending me, my loved ones, I'm sure they want to come to my defense. And they want to say like, hey, you don't deserve for anyone to speak to you like that. You don't deserve for anyone to treat you this way. Or as my parents used to just say, that person is not your friend. And I know, I shouldn't say all of us, I'll just speak for myself. It's difficult when your friends, or the people that I've called friends, don't have that approval from your parents, from my parents. Sorry, let me just start that all the way over. It was difficult for me in the past when my parents, specifically my dad, would say to me, this person is not your friend. Look at this pattern. Look at this repetitive behavior that you keep seeing. There's always a problem when this person is in the equation. There's always an issue when they're around. When their name comes up, like drama, pain, distrust, so many other negative emotions come up for you and other people when that person comes into the picture. Let's look at that. And even though he wouldn't, get all deep and psychological like a therapist, it was great that he could call that out. While it was hard to hear that conversation as a teenager, as an adult, I really appreciate him being so transparent with me and being so honest, to the point of, I need to shake up this system that you're in so that you can realize you might be the only working part there, while this other individual, they're kind of just, being dysfunctional, and it could have something to do with things that are far beyond their control, far beyond their power, whether it be trauma, as I said, losses, years and years of disappointment, whatever it may be. But still, that doesn't change the fact that the system of the friendship isn't working, because one person is dysfunctional, whereas the other person is now trying to compensate and function for both people, function in a healthy manner for both. It's not going to work. In any friendship, in any relationship, all of the parties involved have to pull their weight. And I'm not saying that you're going to feel 100% all of the time. It happens where, I'll just use the example of marriage. You want two healthy and whole people to come together, but let's just be honest. We get sick, we get tired. Some of us struggle with mental health challenges, and we might not always be at our 100% best every day, but that doesn't mean that we stop showing up, and that doesn't mean that our spouses should stop showing up for us. And I know that's a totally different level of responsibility than it is for friendships, but I think it is important for, you know, friends to cover each other in prayer, especially if they're, you know, professing to be believers, of course. So being able to look at the bigger picture and being able to look at the context. But when you have someone who is not able to do that or just chooses not to do that, then it can start to affect your other relationships, because you're complaining about how this person is hurting your feelings. Not your, let me once again make this personal. I'm complaining about how this person is hurting my feelings. I'm complaining about how I don't feel safe when I try to be vulnerable with them. I'm complaining about how contact is so sporadic. I'm complaining about how if I don't initiate the call or the text, I do not hear from them. Those who love me, my spouse, my siblings, my parents, my extended family, other friends, eventually they're probably going to start to get frustrated, because they're looking at it like, well, this is someone that I love. Tiffany, we love you. We don't want to see you hurting. This friendship is hurting you. It's time to let it go. So holding on to friendships past that point where you should let them go, the negative effects will start to bleed into other relationships. So, yeah. I probably should have written some notes on this before I started recording, but it is what it is. I can only think of those. So, being skeptical of others once I break off one friendship, or God delivers me from one friendship, then I'm skeptical of my ability to forge other healthy friendships in the future. I lose my will to be vulnerable. I start to become tense and anxious around having difficult conversations, even just making a comment or making a remark or sharing an opinion, wondering is that going to trigger that other person? So now I need to walk on eggshells, which leads to me not being my authentic self if I'm consistently trying to make sure that I take care of this other person's feelings so that they don't hurt mine. And lastly, staying in difficult friendships that need to end, ultimately that starts to negatively affect my other relationships in life. And it's not worth it. Life is way too short. None of us know when our last day will be. So instead of living life walking on eggshells, refusing to open up, refusing to let other people in because you've been hurt in the past, sometimes it is a lot easier to just let go. I'm sure if any of you have played tug of war as a child or even as an adult, you can definitely get rope burns, and you can hurt yourself more holding on to the rope in an attempt to win. You'll get a lot more pain out of that than you will if you just simply let go. Those are my thoughts. Those are the side effects that I've noticed as far as what happens to me when I hold on to friendships for longer than I should. I feel like I've said that phrase so many times. But yeah, if you have any questions, if you'd like to tell me about your experience with friendships and how you know when to let go and how you do that in a way that's healthy, feel free to leave your feedback in the comments below. Also, share this video if you know someone that it might be helpful for them to hear this. Subscribe and become a member of my channel. Subscribe to my channel. I don't have a fancy name right now, so I can't say subscribe to my channel and become a member of XYZ family, but I guess one of those clever names will come up soon. But yeah, happy Friday. Hope you enjoy your weekend. Stay safe, be blessed, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.